Yeah. Hi, welcome to the coaching game. And guess what time it is?
It's Coaches Creating Change
There
with
you
Laurie and Terry.
go. We are back. We are
We
back.
are back.
And we're starting out our summer and finally and we're really trying to we're trying to hone in on like what are we doing for our clients and how do we do that because the years have gone. I can't believe
Mhm.
that.
We're
Can't
in
believe
third quarter starting
I know it's so,
July.
so amazing. So what we thought we would talk about is like when a client comes to you and they have a problem or they have an issue or they have somewhere they want to go or be or whatever, it's like what do we do with them, what do we do after that, how do we guide that session, how do we make that happen? So that's kind of what we thought we would chat about today, and because I want to hear Terry's technique, she wants to hear mine, and we'll share with everybody. So Terry, when you have a client that comes to you, what's kind of, I know, do you still do that long take intake report for?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I know you really know your client when they get to you. I'm kind of more of wing it. I'll figure
Oh,
it out
yeah.
along the way.
Well,
So what do you do when you first get that client?
I do a intake, which a lot of people don't do. It's 3 hours. So when I did it in person, we did it all at once. But now that I do Zoom, I divide it up. And it's really broken down. I send them a list of questions to play with, very thoughtful questions. I get an idea of who they are, what are their challenges, what are their strengths, what do they want to get out of the coaching. And that takes a long time, believe it or not, as we dig in. And then I do the DISC, which I'm trained in. I do that on the second part. And then the welcome letter, we go through it and what's on it, the fee structure, what's expected. And at that point, we each get some kind of, sorry, some kind of a sense of who we each are. And
Okay.
then we go into the coaching.
I
And
am not surprised when you say it takes longer than you think, because I think a lot of people come to coaches and go, okay, they're going to fix my problem. I'm stuck. I don't know, but they'll fix it. And when you start asking questions about, well, what is it that you really want? Or what is the value behind this? Or blah, blah, blah. Then it's like, oh, I got to think about this. Yeah. So I'm sure your questions are designed exactly that way.
they are, what was a defining moment in their lives,
Mm,
strengths, where are their challenges, how do they know when they're applying their strengths. So you get an insight, not everything, but you do get an insight. And then you do the disc and you see where they come up in the disc, even though it's not the be all or end all. And you go through the letter so we all understand exactly what's in front of us. No surprises when they get their bill and they say, what? It wasn't this much, but it was, and you signed the agreement. I
exactly.
mean, I'm making that up, but or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I pretty much try to cover it. And once we go into the coaching, we kind of have a roadmap, even though sometimes that doesn't, they go off in some other direction.
Oh, always. Yeah,
Mhm.
always.
So, as you know, they they start here and that's not even where they want to go.
That's
Right.
so
So,
that yes, you're absolutely right. And I always say that is so good because I will tell like my mentees, I will say, your client's gonna call and they're gonna go, this is my problem. And in my head, I go, I bet you think that's your problem. That's your symptom. Let's go find out what's underneath that symptom and what's causing the problem.
mhm.
So it's kind of good when they go off. It's like if they stick to to the past, it's like, I feel like, wow, are we getting anything done? Because, and some people, here's what I want. I want to lose 10 pounds and here's how I'm going to do it. But they don't want to, they don't veer off. I love when they veer off. It's like, okay, that's a sign that we're really getting there now. So,
Yeah, and that's a great thought, because people come with this, and as you coach them, it's not that at all, right? Like, I want to lose 10 pounds. I go to the gym once in a while. I eat good foods once in a while. Well, more than likely, that's not the real issue. And if they don't put their heart and soul into something, where else does that show up?
yeah, yeah. That's it. And what I do is I do not do 3 hours. I'm writing like crazy when I'm talking to him, but you just have strategic questions. Like, it's like, okay, I always want to know, like, why now? Why did you decide you need a coach now? That will tell you so much. Um, Another thing is, and I'm not going to take credit for this. I think ICF came up with that question, but it's like, okay, what do you want to do? And then it's like, well, tell me why that's important to you, because I know what would be important to me or not important to me. It's like, for real, that's what you want to do. But tell me why it's important to you, because there's obviously something that's got you here. You're willing to pay for some services to get this done. So why? I always want to figure that out. And then you have to give them realistic expectations. It's like, okay, it's going to be a partnership. We're going to work together. We can go at your pace. I'm going to try to accelerate that, but by all means, slow it down if it's not comfortable for you. And I think just keeping it's not the hardest thing, but a thing that you have to be totally conscious of is that, okay, whose agenda is it? I want to see immediate success. I want to see this person get where they're going. But that's not, let's see where they want to go. And like you said, they may veer off. It may be that 10 pounds is not as important as a commitment to myself or something, whatever comes underneath that. So yeah, we both have different ways. Yours is more formal and very impressive. Mine is kind of like, we'll get around to
Yeah,
it.
but I love, the questions you ask. Usually when somebody comes for me, they tell me, they say, I lost my job, or
Yeah,
I want to get better communication skills because I found I'm not really advocating for myself. So sometimes they do tell you why they're coming
mm,
to
right,
to to this at
right.
this particular time.
Yeah,
And then as you get into it, it could come up as well. You know, what's the expression? Be where they are at the moment,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, and yes, we want to say, come on, win the race, win the race. But it's so complex. It's a lot like therapy, even though it's not,
Mhm.
because you really stay in the present. I do believe you have to know the backstory a little bit. You can't just stay here. What's tripping them up? Where did maybe that came from? Because that's a
Right.
trigger that they need to look at and maybe say, oh, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. And it seems to me, blah, blah, blah. And the blah, blah, blah is the past.
Right.
So I think once they can understand what's holding them up, what is stopping them from here to there, because that's the coaching. They're here and they want to get here. Well, what's in the middle?
Exactly, exactly. And I will go back. I'm not afraid to go back, and I don't want to take you from the womb out. I don't care about that. But it's like, okay, when in the past have you managed to do this
Right?
successfully?
Yes, I do that too.
And how'd you do it? You know,
Mhm,
what,
mhm.
and how can we bring that to the
Yes,
situation
yeah,
now?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
do
think you
that.
call that the three-step process or something. It's
Yeah,
like,
I do that as well, you know,
yeah,
if they're stuck and they can't think of a situation where they succeeded, tell us somewhere, perhaps in your past, where you were able to succeed, what worked,
exactly. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you know, I do feel, having work a lot with the human mind, a lot, that there has to be some backstory. People just don't do what they do.
Oh, no, no. Yeah,
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that they got back then.
right.
What was it? I'm not worthy. I'm not valued. And that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what they do is they continue to fulfill that illogical, uh, untrue issue. So they
Exactly.
keep putting in their lives things that keep them from being self-worth, keep them from being valued. And
What does
you've
that
got to
say?
do that.
Yeah, that's saying,
For
whether
me,
yeah, no, no, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It's like, and that's the attitude is the whole thing. So I think, and that's something also that you have to do when you're in the coaching process. You have to see, wow, how is this person approaching what they want? You know, is it with that negativity because you know you're fighting an uphill battle on that one, or is it with, you know, it's like, oh, I hope this works, you know, a little bit of optimism. We don't want them to say, yeah, I know you got me. I'd like that, but you know, so I think you have to also, that's one of the things you take into consideration. It's like, what's their mode of learning, you know? And is that a part of your questions by any chance? How do you like to learn? How do you like to, so I've thought about doing that, but I don't.
no, I don't.
Yeah.
I think during the coaching, it kind of becomes evident who they are, where they're at, and how to figure out if that's the best way of moving forward.
Yeah. And that's
We
part of
don't
your
know
job.
that.
That's part of your job. It's like, okay, well, have you done this in the past? Did it work? You know, how else could you do this? You know, and bring that on home. So yeah, that's that it's you're right. It's an intricacy of so many signs, and I love that you get all the information up front, but you know it's not written in concrete because
No,
you know it can
absolutely.
change at any minute, and
Right.
you know, just go off track, which, like I said, is, oh, okay, this is good. Now we're going somewhere. Maybe, or maybe we're not, and we got to bring it back. But at least it means we're not stuck on that one rut, you know. So we're ready to move
Right.
somewhere. Yeah.
And when I hear them and get their answers for the first one, I pretty much can tell where they are on the DISC scale. The
Oh,
D, the
really?
I, the
Yeah.
S, and the C,
Okay.
yes. It gives me, I'm pretty good at figuring out where they're going to be and what's tripping them up.
Ah, wow, that's cool. I think the reason I don't use assessments is because, again, they're not written in concrete, and it's not one size fits all. But I see it as a good groundwork. It's like, okay, let me move from here, and then, all right, I know they have this tendency, and I know this is, you know, how they do this. So I can see where it's helpful. I can see
It's
where it's helpful.
it's not the be, and I tell them it's not the be all and end all. It's only part of the picture. That's
Right.
all it is.
Part of the puzzle. It's a little
Right,
puzzle piece. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
So,
how do you I have a pretty ironclad rule, I think. It's like I want to leave my client after each session with at least, I'd love to leave them with an action plan and you know all that with bells and whistles. One step. It's like at least what are we going to do one step between the next time that you and I talk, you know? Do you have that policy too?
I do.
Hmm.
It depends on the call. You
Hmm.
know, what's one thing or two things that you can put into play to help with what, and might be directly with what we're talking about.
Mhm.
You know, if we're talking about advocating for yourself and they have a hard time, what's one thing you can do to start advocating for yourself? Whom can you go to? Whom can you talk to?
Yeah. Like in the grocery store, at the cash register, you know, if you're getting mischarged, something simple. It doesn't have to be that you're going up to your boss and asking for a raise. You know, it can be something. Let's take it from, you know, a minor step where the odds are not the odds, the consequences aren't that severe, and see, and it doesn't even have to work. Just what is your reaction? How did you do it? What would you do differently the next time? Yeah, that I like that. I like that. Just one thing. And yeah, I feel like if we haven't created one step or one thing to enhance a new mindset or something like that, then I feel like, oh, you know, I because we have a saying in the school that I'm from that, you know, a lot of the work goes on between the sessions. You know, it's like, so don't get discouraged if the person didn't move from A to Z. A lot of work goes on in between when they start thinking about, oh, did I really say that, and what did that mean? So it's I want to just keep that going if I can. Do you have any way to keep
Yes.
it going? Is that
Um, I do a lot of added value for my clients,
mm,
meaning I can always be in touch with them.
ah,
I'm always in touch with them. If they send something, I answer. If they need another 10-minute session, I don't charge them for it. I'm very much in, because I only have 4 or 5 clients.
right.
I really keep it personal with
Mm,
them. I care about them. Some are former clients that have come back.
yeah.
So uh, one client is interviewing, and I said, "How's it going?" When you know, and we do a dialogue in text.
Mhm.
Um, so we're going to talk this week, and then there are several things she's working on. Um, some of my clients will say what I left him with last time. I put this together. We haven't discussed it yet. He and somebody. I want to talk to you about a new business opportunity. So,
Cool.
you know, and I do make them write it down. You know, what do you want to get out of it? What's your strategy? You know, I say desired outcome.
Mhm.
So that's up here. What's your goal? What's your desired outcome overall? And
Right.
then working from the bottom. Okay, you can't just say, oh, here it is. You've got to take steps to get to that place.
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
have to figure out the steps to get to that desired outcome.
Cool. Cool. And what do you do for accountability? Because my thought is, I think there are two reasons why people go to a coach. I think one is because they want to be heard, and I was always so amazed that people would pay to be heard, and then it's like, well, why not? Psychiatrists have been on to this for ages, you know, so why not? And so many people either don't get heard or they feel like they don't get heard. So I think that's one reason they want to be heard without judgment. You know, it's
Mhm,
like
mhm.
without someone who has a dog in the fight. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
whatever you
all
say,
right,
you're the
right.
boss. And then two is I think they want to be held accountable. I think they know that left to their own devices, other things are going to come up that are more important. Or they're going to put other people before themselves, which I find is a big habit of a lot of
Mhm,
people that I
mhm,
coach.
mhm.
And so it's like I really won't let them go unless we have an accountability method. You know, it's got to be how you gonna make sure you get this done. Uh, what do you do for that?
Um, we have a plan
Hmm.
and we say what we're gonna do. And if they come back with, oh, I didn't do it, blah, 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 say, okay, what got in the way? What stopped you from doing it? I got scared. I didn't do it because I got scared.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we go from there to figure out, now we're digging. What was scary for you? What were you afraid would happen? And then you figure out why they're not doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever is down there is keeping them, is running the show. Right?
Yes.
We know this much is the conscious mind. And then if you go below that, it goes sub. And that's what runs people. And they're not aware of what's going on because they only see this much consciousness.
Yeah. That always, the source. It's, it's like the symptom and the source. Yeah.
Right.
What's really down there doing all that? I always, I hope that their accountability is going to be our next session, what it was. So by our next session, you're going to do blah, blah, blah. But I've heard some really, I wish I had thought of them, but I'm not good like that. I've heard some really cool ways how people let their clients be or help their clients become accountable. One is, and I think it was brilliant, that they had the client who just was always hesitant to speak out at meetings. And so the way he was going to be accountable was he was going to take out his chapstick, put it on, and speak out, because he has a tendency to put on chapstick anyway. So it's like, when you do that, you're going to speak out. Another is the rubber band on the wrist. You just snap yourself and go, oh yeah, right. I'm putting myself first today, so I'm going to say no. It doesn't have to be a complex, method. It can just be something really simple. It can be, I have a lovely friend who has her whole organization in Connecticut, and they have a rock, and it's a very smooth rock, and that's part of her thing. And it's put it in your pocket, and when you feel it, you're going to remember that blah, blah, blah. So there are ways to keep clients accountable. And then you can do the best. You can come up with brilliant ways. And sometimes you're still not going to do it. So what you said is like, okay, let's examine. We're not going to just let it go. Let's examine why you didn't. How can we change it? What would you do differently?
And it's not making them wrong.
No,
right. But I'm saying it's not really that comes across that you're making them wrong.
Yeah.
And I talk about that right up front in the conversation. If I say or do anything that annoys you, please tell me and we'll look at it. That's one of the things, and when we do the contract, looking it over, I'm here to be your partner. I'm here as get the word. You do the work, right? You do the work. I'm here to help, but it's your responsibility, not mine.
Right.
For you to get what you want.
And it's based on your values, your needs, and all of that. It's like, I personally know how I would do it. And that drives me crazy when they go, well, what should I do? It's like, I'll tell you what I should do, but who cares? This is how you want to pay for that. If you want to pay me to figure out what my problems are, that's
right.
But we're really talking about you. And and that's a deflection. I do it sometimes too. I do it with humor. If I don't want to say anything, I'll find a joke or something to get out of the situation. And that's a deflection that, it's people like, no, you don't need me to tell you what to do. You might think you do, but we're gonna find out what you need to do.
Right. I would say I can tell you what to do. I can tell you what I would do, but what does that matter? It's not about me.
Exactly.
And I think I say, I know you know what to do.
Yeah.
You know what to do.
And we're going to pull it out of you because you may not know that but it's down there. It's down there. Do you have any tricks for motivating? It's like where, first of all, finding the source is always a good thing, but do you have any tips or tricks on that?
I think when you allow somebody to be big and magnanimous and not small, you kind of hold them up and, what do you want to do? How will this make you feel? It's about, at this point, some positivity, not to pull them down, but positivity about what would, what the motivation would
Yeah.
be. And usually I ask them, what do they want to do for the next session?
Ah, that's good. Yeah.
What are you willing to commit to?
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So,
Yeah, and it's what for motivation, it can also be let's go back to what brought you here. It's so how do you motivate yourself on a whole totally different level? It's like,
right.
how do you motivate yourself to get up and go to the gym every day? What traits do you use? Another trick I love to use, and I use it on myself sometimes too. It's like, well, if you were talking to your husband or your brother or your best friend, what would you tell them to do? What would you want them to do? And it's like, so okay, why not you? Why that's a great way to have them make a decision, but it's also a great way to say, yeah, I know what I would want someone else to do. Why wouldn't I want to do that? To start thinking about it anyway. It's like, why am I putting myself on the back burner? Let me go get some stuff done. So yeah, it's it is. People think that we just pick up the phone or we go see somebody and we just start talking. But there's
Yeah.
a lot of little things that coaches are listening for that, and it doesn't mean that you should be paranoid and watch. Oh, shouldn't say this, and I should. It's just we kind of that's part of our training. Thank heavens. It's like, yeah, we should be listening. We should be listening for what they don't say. Is there a sign
Exactly,
there? Did their
exactly.
voice go up or
Right,
down?
right. Their energy,
Yeah, the
what's happening in the moment.
exactly.
Right.
And that means getting yourself ready for that, because it's I just can't coach and do anything else. Even though
Oh,
usually on Zoom or the phone, I can't take notes. I can take notes about them, but I mean I can't fill in my calendar. You have to listen. So that's what we're doing, and that's what we hope everybody is doing with us too. We are almost out of time.
oh goodness. Here
35
we are.
seconds. Yeah, here we are again.
Again, coaches creating change, and I hope because that's our job, to create change.
Yes, it
That's it.
is, right. So it's almost like saying coach is coaching, but it is.
Uh-huh.
But that's well, people come to us because they want change. They may not know what that change is, but you're right. So I love our name, Coaches Creating Change.
I do too.
Yeah, and I think it's good for everybody. So we're going to wish you all a good, happy beginning of summer.
Right. Happy 4th.
Yeah, all of that, and
We'll
we
be back.
will we'll get back to you.
Terrific.